Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a very important topic in Python, which is 2D list. So let's start with its definition and ask what really it is. A 2D list is a two-dimensional list, and you might wonder what does two-dimensional list mean. So two-dimensional list actually means a sublist inside a bigger list. So 2D list is like a list of sublists, but each of the sublists have the same length, so it will look very like a table. And here is an example of a very basic 2D list. And you can see that there's patterns like rows and columns, which is the same idea you can see in a table. And for 2D list, there are some very important nature about it that you have to remember and know very clearly. And here they are. So let's start with length table. Length table is basically asking how many elements are there inside the big variable table. And that is, in this case, the number of elements in the list, which is the number of sublists we have. So it indicates the number of rows in the table. And table bracket R is referring to the row with index R in that table. And with understanding what table bracket R means, you can infer that length table bracket R is asking the number of elements in row R, and length of table bracket 0 is showing the number of columns in a table. This is because as we said before, 2D lists have sublets with the same length, so the length of any rows inside it is indicating the number of columns of the table. And then it comes to the most important question, which is how do we access a specific element inside that table? Because this is nothing like the 1D list you have already learned. It actually is pretty easy, and you can just use table bracket R bracket C. However, one thing very important is that you can't change the order of R and C. You have to be R first and C then. And table bracket R bracket C means the element a row R and column C of that table. And if you want to do more advanced things with 2D list, then you have to go over each of the elements. Then how are you gonna do it? Well, we tend to achieve this by creating loops inside loops, and this is how it looks like. So basically, you write first for R in range length table, and then for C in range list table 0, and you put the process you want to have inside the inner loop. And then the double loops will help you like applying that process to each of the elements one by one. And noticing, unlike table bracket R bracket C above, the order of R and C here doesn't really matter. We can put like C first, which is C in the outer loop and R in the inner loop. However, this doesn't mean you can just simply exchange R and C here in the example I give you. You have to change the whole line, which is for R in range length table, because R and length table have to be stick together, and C and length table 0 has to be stick together. And this is pretty easy to understand because like length table is indicating the number of rows, and length table 0 is indicating the number of columns. Yes, so these two have to be sticked, but you can change the whole outer loop with the whole inner loop. Yeah, and these are the very important basic ideas about 2D list, and that's all I'm going to talk about today. Thank you.